run out at the moment, where the state is putting the program on a temporary pause from what they're telling us so far. So we don't know just yet if more funds are going to be available, but we did want to present the information in case the state is able to allocate more funds for the program. We'll also be talking a little bit about the CalHFA conventional loan, the CalHFA FHA loan, and then the My Home Community Assistance that they also offer. Cool. So Tale of Two programs. Like I said, the Dream for All program was a 20% down payment assistance program that the state of California came out with, where they were helping home buyers with up to 20% for the down payment or closing costs for their house. So here we have just two very basic examples of two different CalHFA products. Left side, we'll see the dream home, right? So the example we have here is buyer buying a $500,000 house, getting a 20% down payment from the state. Their estimated total monthly payment is going to be about $3,102, and then out-of-pocket costs in this scenario would be about $15,000. Now, on the flip side, with standard CalHFA loan product with FHA financing, using some of their programs, we would once again come in with a 3.5% down payment. Total estimated monthly payment in this scenario would be about $4,344, and then total out-of-pocket cost would be about $10,000. So we do see a bit of a variance in the down payment, more so because the Dream program was covering so much of that mortgage for us. So a little bit about the CalHFA Dream Home. The funds, like I said, are pretty much limited. As of yesterday, the program was put on hold. The way the program works is it's a conventional first mortgage that we're obtaining, and then 20% would be obviously coming from the state. We do have the option on these to either opt into paying for mortgage insurance or not paying for mortgage insurance. And all of that really depends on if, as a buyer, we are planning to come in with money to cover either a cost or cover a portion of our down payments. And now the minimum credit score for this program is also a 680 minimum score in order to qualify for the program. The higher we go on credit score, meaning if we're at a 680, or at a 700, there are some guidelines that somewhat change, a little bit more flexibility if our score is above a 700. Cool. Now, another one of the CalHFA products that's super popular, we've actually been using this exact loan for, I'd say, about 12, maybe 13 years now. And it's the CalHFA conventional loan with what they call a ZIP. It's a zero interest program. So minimum down payment on these is typically 3%. Now, this can be a mix of funds, right? We can either obtain some of these funds from CalHFA, or if we have our own funds for our down payment or for our closing costs, we can always bring those funds in to help drop that monthly payment for us. Typically, the way these loans would work, it's a standard conventional first mortgage through CalHFA, and then we would have, in this case, a second mortgage, which is the ZIP down payment assistance. So the ZIP helps us with up to 3% of the sales price in funds, and this can be used for our closing costs. So supposing that our price is on our property $500,000, what will happen is with this ZIP, we can get up to $15,000 to help cover our closing costs. Now, another program that's pretty popular with CalHFA also is the CalHFA FHA loan. So this program would work essentially similar to the conventional loan. The only difference here is that we're now obtaining FHA financing. Now, the credit score requirements on these is a little bit more flexible than the conventional loan would be. Here, we're able to go down with credit scores as low as 640, and there's more flexibility as we get into a higher credit score as well. Now, all buyers on this program would have to be first-time home buyers, and the definition of a first-time home buyer is someone who hasn't owned a property within the last 3 years. Now, there are some exceptions to that rule, meaning if we owned a property, let's say 2 years ago and sold it during the COVID time, and now we're in a position to repurchase a home, we still have the ability of falling under the program as a first-time home buyer. So as long as we don't own anything or we haven't owned anything within the last 3 years, it drops us back into that first-time home buyer positioning to be able to get access to some of these funds and some of these programs. So another one of the assistance that we typically wrap into, whether it's a CalHFA conventional loan or a CalHFA FHA loan with the ZIP, is the My Home Assistance Program. So with the ZIP program, they'll allow us to borrow up to 3% of the sales price. With the My Home, it allows us to borrow up to 3% on conventional loans, and then up to 3.5% on FHA loans. So some cases it's upwards of 6.5% of credit that we can receive from the state. Now, the way the My Home program works is it is a second mortgage that's recorded against the property. Now, the cool thing about it is there aren't any payments that we're making on the mortgage. It's what's called a silent second, meaning we pull the mortgage, there's not payments ever on the mortgage until the mortgage is either refinanced and cash is pulled out, or the property sold. There is simple interest connected to the My Home program also, which means that there is going to be interest accumulated over time. So when we go to pay things back, it's not just the loan that we're paying back of, let's say $10,000, if that's what we borrowed, it will have interest attached to it. Now, the My Home, you can combine it with any CalHFA down payment assistance loan that is available, and the payments are deferred for the life of it. Now, this is placed in a second position against the loan. If we're also applying for a ZIP loan, that's actually placed in third position, but there's no interest connected to that ZIP. So the second loan with the My Home Assistance, that's where the interest is wrapped into things. The ZIP program doesn't have the interest attached to it, but that also needs to be paid back whenever the home is either sold or whenever it's refinanced in the future. Now, for most of the down payment assistance programs, they are limited with income limits, meaning the state has set up certain numbers as far as how much income we can earn in order to qualify for the program. So what the state essentially says is that if we're earning over certain income in Los Angeles County of $180,000 or more, it actually disqualifies us for the program. The state sees it as we're earning too much to help, and most of the programs with state funding assisting people is more so for lower income families. So if they see that we're earning too much, it may disqualify us from actually qualifying for the program. And then here we'll have a few different local counties. Now, the program is open to every county in the state of California, depending on what county you're looking in. We can always look at some of the income limits that are set for the counties and see if it's something that we do qualify for the program. Is there any questions so far about anything? Oh, we're all good. We'll move on to the next one. So some of the eligible properties, this is a big question we typically get as far as what types of homes can qualify for any of the down payment assistance programs. Now, there are more than just the CalHFA down payment assistance, but to sum things up, most of the programs will look at the same types of properties in order to qualify. So some of the houses we want to look at if down payment assistance is an option for us is going to be single family residents. Condos also qualify for down payment assistance. Townhomes fall under the category, manufactured homes, and then any single family home with an ADU also qualifies for down payment assistance. Now, that's not necessarily to say that the property is a 2-unit property, but over the past few years in the state of California, the state has now allowed for, in some cases, garages or additional dwellings to be added to properties, and overall, ultimately that increases their property value. Now, what we're seeing is that oftentimes people are using these accessory dwelling units as additional living space, and some people are even using it to rent an additional part of the property out. Now, the way the state would look at the accessory dwelling unit is as if though we're going to be living in the property and the accessory dwelling unit as well. Another thing that's been very popular over the past couple months has been a 2-1 buy down. Since we've seen interest rates kind of creep up over the last 12 to 18 months, this has become a super popular program because it allows us to make lower payments on the mortgage in the first few years. So we'll go over the 2-1 buy down a bit. We'll explain how the program itself works, and then who can actually use it in their transaction. So what a 2-1 buy down is a temporary reduction to the interest rate by paying additional interest up front. The buy down funds can be paid by the seller, so we can ask the seller to give us a credit to cover the cost of the buy down. The lender can give a credit also to cover some of the cost, or any third party transaction in the transaction can issue credits to cover the cost for the buy down. The way it works is the interest rate for the first year would be 2% lower than the initial note rate. And then year number 2, so months 13 to 24, the interest rate is going to be 1% less than the note rate. Year number 3, the interest rate goes back to the original note rate, and it stays that way until the house is either paid off or until the mortgage is refinanced. Is there any questions about any of this information? All good. Okay, so here's a small example of a couple buy down options. So what we have here is just flat out across the board, $500,000 price. All of it is with a 5% down. So assuming that we're doing 5% down on a conventional loan. If we look over to the far left column, we have just the standard 5% down. So this would be what things can look like at year 3. This first option here would be assuming that the seller gave us a credit of $15,000 to utilize a 2-1 buy down. So our year number 1, what we would be doing is dropping the rate from 6.25 to 4.25, utilizing 2% of that $15,000 seller credit to bring our interest rate down to an interest rate of 4.25. We see here a difference of payment of about $587 receiving that credit. Now, year number 2, months 13 through 24, we would see an increase in rate from year 1, but we would still see a significant difference in payment of about $300 from where the payment will be year number 3. Now, year number 3, the payment does increase a bit back up to $36.17, which is with the interest rate where the market is at today. So this program has been helping people in terms of dropping that payment for the first few years. Interest rates are expected to come down lower towards the end of the year. What this is helping people do is get into those lower payments with the anticipation that if rates do go down, we refinance the property, get a lower interest rate, and continue making a lower payment. Now, if there are still funds left over from the credits that the seller's given us, those funds can actually be spread into the future refinance that we do, and we can still utilize those funds for that next transaction that we have. Is there any questions regarding the 2-1 buy down? No. All right, we'll move on to the next one. So we do have things open for questions now. If anyone has any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
And the question can be either on the financing side or real estate side, either works.
Hi, Jerry. This is Vivian.
Hi, Vivian.
Hi, I have a quick question regarding these programs. Since it's a state-funded home assistance program, right? Are there any special requests for us to appraisal required? Is there anything that appraisal required that's different from conventional loan or FHA?
So to answer that, Vivian, there's really no anything different necessarily that is going to be called out for. I would say if the property is being, let's say, rented, the property that's being purchased is being rented, and there's currently tenants in the property, there's a chance that the state may ask for some sort of form from the seller showing that the tenant has been given a notice to vacate the property within 30 days. Requirement for these programs is that we once we fund the loan, once we become owners of the property, we do have 60 days to move into the house. So going back to the appraisal, it's really going to look the same as a standard conventional appraisal, unless there are tenants in the property. Then that may be the only thing that could be different, that they ask for the tenants to vacate at closing.
Thank you, Jerry.
Of course. Is there any other questions?
I guess, Jerry, and for people that are interested in the program, or get financing, how do they, what do they need to get pre-approved, or, to know if they are eligible for any type of the program, like these specialized program that you guys offer?
So in order to qualify for the programs, like we went over, first-time home buyers is something that's necessary. So that would essentially mean not owning a home in the last 3 years, or if we did own a home in the last 3 years, if we sold it, then we re-qualify for that. As far as documentation goes to qualify for the program, you would essentially need 3 years worth of income taxes, 3 years worth of 3 years worth of W-2s, last month's worth of paycheck stubs, and then your most recent bank statement is what needs to be reviewed. Credit score wise, the FHA part of the financing through CalHFA, they allow you to go as low as 640 on the credit score. The conventional loans are 660, and then the CalHFA Dream for All is a minimum score of 680.
And essentially, you guys will also, when a client or buyer wants to reach out to you guys, you also, in addition to, they tell them this is what I'm looking for, but you guys also will match them with the best possible program that can, make their, essentially, make the most sense for them.
Yeah, definitely. So we always want to look at which options we have, right? Especially with these assistance programs. There are sometimes differences between the programs. So I think the most important thing is looking at what options are on the table and what's the best for us financially and over the long term, right?
Thank you.
Hi, Jerry. It's Vivian again. Quick question. So these funding options are made available through some authorized loan agent. Are you so if we have anyone that's interested, are they able to apply through your company?
Yes, definitely. So we are able to help anyone with any type of down payment financing in California. So whether it's something, we're located in the San Gabriel Valley near Los Angeles, but whether it's something in San Diego or up towards San Francisco, we are able to provide the financing for them.
Okay, and as far as for the loan program, because our team usually do a lot of listing, right? And sometimes we do have the needs to close escrow maybe earlier or later. Are these loan type available to work with different lengths of the escrow period, like 21 days, 45 days, or 60-day closing?
So to answer that, Vivian, it varies. Right now, what we're seeing is because that Dream for All program was so popular and most of those funds have been eaten up in such a short period of time, looks like it was close to something close to about 2,200 families that applied for the Dream program and received it over the last 10 days. Now, what that's kind of caused is like a rush of applications that have come into CalHFA where they're a little bit behind at the moment. They're taking a little bit long to get things looked at because about 2,000 customers just came into to underwriting with them. So they are falling behind a little bit, where it's going to be taking somewhere close to maybe 30 days to get some of these transactions closed out at the moment. But as we see the program kind of pass a bit and they're not as busy, we should be able to go back to that normal 20 to 25 day closing period.
Thank you, Jerry.
You're welcome.
Jerry, do you also want to share your contact information if anyone wants to reach out to you directly?
Yeah, of course. I can drop it in the chat if that's okay. I'll have that on there. I am working on the social, so if anyone is on either Instagram, YouTube, or on Facebook, please follow us. We're constantly posting different content on there, but I'm going to drop in my contact information in the chat as well. Is there any more questions? I feel like I answered everything, or did I miss something?
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
No, hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because every time when I try to say something and then it seems like nobody can hear me. Okay. So Jerry, so for people, they okay, they are going to apply this program, what do you recommend what they should do now? I mean, probably they are interested in the program. So what they should do now for those buyers?
I think the most important thing is to get qualified, right? To have a lender look over the information and see, where things stand. One thing we notice with a lot of people is that when they get qualified, they may not always be ready, right? So I feel like that's okay. And setting up some sort of plan is super important, I feel. So if you're interested, I think, in any sort of their down payment assistance or even in getting qualified, buying a home, I think it's always important to start looking at things sooner, just because we don't know necessarily what everyone's situation is, right? If we don't know if there's an issue with the credit that needs to be fixed. So I do recommend for most people, it's start that process as soon as you feel it's your time to get into something, just because you don't know how soon that can happen.
Right. And the other question is, so for those people who may not have, the reason why they use this program, for example, for the 20% down payment, because they don't have enough down payment, to purchase the property. And of course, this is a good opportunity for them. So how do these, if they are going to write let's say everything's ready, they are going to write purchase, they are going to purchase a property. How could they help to sending out to compare to other buyers and to get the offers to accept?
So
because they don't have a down payment, right? And
yeah. So one thing on that side, Trina, to answer that question, one thing that we would always do is also reach out to the agents. One thing we've noticed over the past few years, especially during that COVID rush, is that a lot of the agents, the listing agents that were receiving offers on some of the assistance programs, they kind of shied away from them a bit because they prefer to take some of those contracts with 20% down payments, with higher credit scores, whatnot. I think with where the market is headed, it is going to open up some of these programs to come back. The dream home being as popular as it has been, it has kind of shown us that sellers and listing agents are open to accepting some of the assistance loans. So to kind of answer that question, Trina, as far as how the offers can be written, I don't know that we can necessarily do much to make the offer look much more appealing beyond simply that communication with the agents and explaining how the process works. Another step we can always take is before getting out and shopping with some of these buyers, we can essentially get a full approval from the bank, know that everything has been checked, everything checks out, and then that simply gives the buyer the opportunity to go out and start shopping with absolute confidence because the bank has already reviewed things, and it may make your side of things a little bit easier when we're writing some of those offers with a full loan approval as opposed to just a pre-approval.
I see. Thank you. So one more question. So how about if are those programs all for like owner occupied? Let's say when they purchase the property and maybe within like 6 months later or a year later, so they probably, because of their job transfer, they have to, move out of the state, or for some reason they cannot stay here. How does it work for the, the program? Because since at the beginning they were kind of owner occupied, and then they probably may plan to rent it out. How does it work? So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so to answer that, Vivian, I mean, the program is designed for first-time homebuyers, and it's designed for us to live in the house. Now, just like you said, right? Sometimes life takes us in different directions, job transfers, whatnot. Specifically for like the CalHFA standard program, not necessarily the dream program, but the standard CalHFA down payment assistance, conventional and FHA, they're okay if we were to move out of the property after a year for whatever reason, like job transfer changes. They're okay with that happening per se. Now on the Dream program, they are a little bit more strict because they are helping us with the full 20%. If they see that there's a change, let's say we lived in the house for a very short period of time, 4, 5, 6 months, and then we decided to turn that property into a rental, there's a strong chance that the state comes back and wants to collect the 20% that they're essentially letting us borrow, because we didn't necessarily continue with our part of the agreement of having the home for us to live in. So it's kind of a rocky place to kind of look at when it comes to us moving out. In most cases, if we're living in the house for at least a year and life takes us somewhere else afterwards, they shouldn't have an issue with it.
Oh, thank you.
And I guess just one thing, just to remind you, mentioned earlier, there's a possibility this program or the Dream for All can come back. So anyone that may be interested, you know, it's best advice to just reach out to you guys, get you guys pre-approved, ready for that program when if it comes back, and then they can jump on it, right?
Of course, and that's kind of what we're suggesting, right? Is let's look at things now, get an idea of where we stand, and look at our options, right? If the program does come back, then hey, we know that we qualify, we know where things stand, and it gives us the opportunity to move quickly. If we look at how quickly the $300 million essentially disappeared, there was a lot of people that saw the value in things and knew that the program wasn't going to last very long, and they took advantage of things. Essentially, it's the same thing here, right? It's let's get things looked at for you. If the program does open up, we don't know how much they would open up to, but we do know that the funds are going to run pretty quick. So the sooner we can get things looked at, the better at that same time. And it's options that we're going to have also.
Anyone have any other questions? Looks like questions are answered. Well, just want to again, thank you everyone for taking the time to stop by. Thank you very much, Jerry, for coming here, explaining the programs to us. And his information is in the chat box. And yeah, if you guys have any real estate related question, please reach out to myself. And if any mortgage question, reach out to Jerry directly too.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.